Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 1 to What If Goku Was Born as a Super Saiyan God. So we're just going to slap a like goal on this. We'll start it pretty low because I don't know how well it's going to do because it's a Dragon Ball and not like a Naruto What If. So we'll just put the first like goal at 100 likes and, we'll see exactly what that gets us. So with that being said, let's just jump right into the What If. So this What If is obviously going to start where Goku was born, because, being born as a Super Saiyan God would therefore imply that you were being born as something. So Goku was quite literally just born with God Ki, and, he has, the red hair and everything like that. So I'm gonna make a little, thing here, or not thing, but, I'm gonna make it so that Goku isn't, constantly in a Super Saiyan God state. He's constantly, using God Ki and, everything like that. He's quite literally a god, but, the Super Saiyan God, whatever you want to call it, with, the red-haired form, is actually, a form that he'd have to, go into, I guess you could say. So he has, you know how, Goku and, Super can use, the good old-fashioned, God Ki on his base form without going to Super Saiyan God, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I'm just going to go with that. He can do that because, yeah, otherwise he'd be too overpowered. He has to have, some kind of, rage moment in order to go into that form. So he's still sent off the planet because he would be quite literally born with literally a power level of 0, so Bardock would be like, oh, you've literally got to be kidding me. But he'd still get his, flashbacks and see that red-haired form taking down Frieza and everything like that. So with that, he would end up going and he'd still get sent to the planet called Earth, obviously. So he gets sent to planet Earth, and he gets to, or basically lands there, still lands next to where Grandpa Gohan is. So Grandpa Gohan would start raising this child, and he notices that he's really, really strong. So this is where Kami would probably come into play, because Kami doesn't actually have God Ki himself, but I'm pretty sure almost all gods, or all of those types of gods, can sense God Ki. So he would sense that this mortal, or this, I guess it would literally be a deity, had landed on his planet. And he was interested by this. So a few years later, when Goku was around, 5, 6 years old, he'd go and he'd meet with Grandpa Gohan. Grandpa Gohan, just like Master Roshi, actually does know who Kami is. So he would basically be like, wait, the kid's a freaking god? And, Kami would just be like, that's a way to put it. I'd like to take him up to the lookout. I want to make sure nothing sketchy is going on. I want to see exactly what's going on with this kid. So, obviously, Grandpa Gohan would allow that because, he's he knows who Kami is. He knows he's, the god of Earth, and he knows he's, almighty powerful being, even though he really isn't compared to, Dragon Ball Z characters, but whatever. So, he's like, okay, yeah, I'll allow it. So, obviously, Kami would end up taking Goku up to the lookout, and they would begin, training and basically, doing things like that. That's just because Kami wanted to make sure that Goku wasn't going to, turn to the wrong side. He didn't want another version, but a stronger version of King Piccolo, because he knows that he's I don't know if he'd know he's a Saiyan, but he could probably figure it out. So he'd be I don't want his inherent Saiyan nature to take over, and he doesn't want him basically to turn evil, kind of how King Piccolo is. Maybe he even sees him as a weapon against King Piccolo if he ever returns. So with that, he'd take Goku up to the lookout to begin training with him. So Goku would begin his training with Kami, and their training would be very beneficial, obviously, because Goku is really powerful already, because God Ki is literally just normal Ki, except quite literally just more powerful, more refined, it's basically a different, I guess it's I don't know exactly how it works, but it's basically just a stronger version of normal Ki. So let's say Goku was born with a power level of was talking normal stuff, how strong he'd be against a normal person. We'll say he was born with around 1,000. So he's really freaking strong when he was born, because being a god kind of makes you quite powerful. I don't know if it's a 500 times multiplier like that, probably not, but I don't know. So with that, Goku ends up starting to train with Kami, basically just raising his power level so he can fight with stronger opponents. Obviously, Kami, it would be very quickly, if when Goku was born, he literally surpassed Kami, so it's kind of he's just training him in case King Piccolo gets stronger somehow, I guess. I don't know. So eventually, obviously, he would send Goku back down to the planet, and Goku would actually know about the Dragon Balls, and he would be like to Grandpa Gohan, because Grandpa Gohan kind of knows exactly what they are, but he doesn't know exactly how they work. So years would pass, and Goku would basically just be chilling there, training with Grandpa Gohan, of which he never killed because Kami would have removed his tail, just like in the original. Knowing of like the Saiyan weird transformation thing, he removed the tail. So with that, Goku would basically be met by Bulma. She would still like pull up with Goku having went fishing, and the bullet would do absolutely nothing. The car would crash into him, and basically like that. She would pull the gun, and yeah. So basically, Goku would be like, "So you're here after the Dragon Balls." And he's a lot like better mannered and a little bit smarter, just because he didn't kill Grandpa Gohan and hasn't been living on his own for years. Because being like a 12-year-old child doesn't really do that good of the things for your mental state to live alone, and because he wasn't that smart. But now he's a little bit smarter. He's better mannered, and he knows the difference between a girl and a boy. So he's not going to do that whole laying on you like, "You're missing your baby" thing. Like he's not going to do any shit like that. So, basically, Bulma would be like, ask for the Dragon Ball. Grandpa Gohan would basically just say, "Here, you can have it, but I want you to take this kid with you," because he kind of wants Goku to, like, go around the world a little bit, because he's only been in, like, 2 places. Grandpa Gohan's house and Kami's lookout. So he's like, "I want you to take him with you," and Goku's, he ends up going, obviously. So Goku would go, and he'd basically just go with Bulma. So with Goku going with Bulma, he would basically wander around the planet and easily take down everybody who would have a Dragon Ball. Pilaf Gang gets completely squashed. Like, everybody gets completely squashed. Goku would probably himself be able to put out the fire that was on, like, what was the name of that mountain? Basically where, like, Chi-Chi and her, like, dad's, basically, their mountain. He was just, like, put out the fire by, I don't know exactly what he would do, but he'd be able to put out that fire pretty easily. So with that, he would, be able to put out the fire. So he would get the Dragon Ball from them, and they don't even have to, like, search through the rubble to, like, find it. So with that happening, Chi-Chi would still develop a liking towards Goku, but Goku never actually, like, promised to marry her, because, like, they never, like, took the time to do that, because he, like, the second he got there, he was like, "Oh, I can do that for you." So he's like, yeah. So Chi-Chi would still like him, but because of how strong he is and stuff like that, but they never, like, I'll marry you later, thinking it's food or anything like that. So you'd easily get all 7 Dragon Balls, and he, like, really easy, like, too easy. He would take out Yamcha, and Yamcha would basically be following them for a while, basically doing his good old thing where he's a weird person. So he basically follows them around and eventually does change from the mountain bandit or desert bandit into a better guy, one of the Z fighters. So they get all the Dragon Balls and they begin basically using them. And what do they wish for? Because Bulma doesn't want to wish for a boyfriend because Yamcha is still there. And Goku never really had a wish at this early on. And they never really changed, what the heck is the Oolong? Yeah, Oolong. I can't remember. I was like, what the heck is the pig's name again? He's not, like, there, like, trying to quickly make a wish for panties or anything like that, because the Pilaf Gang never actually got the Dragon Balls. So, what is the wish going to be? This is the question. So, Goku is obviously, like, the one that would be getting the wish, because, he basically helped get them the most, and other than, like, Bulma, obviously, but Bulma doesn't want to make a wish. Yamcha has kind of just been there for the ride, and, why would he get the wish? And Oolong is literally just, like, not there. So what exactly would Goku wish for? So you would have to go into, like, Goku's weird mental state at this point a little bit to figure out what he'd wish for, because he's not exactly the same. Like, he's, like, has a similar personality, but he's a lot smarter, and he's grown up and known different, like, training methods, and he knows of his, like, Saiyan history and everything like that, because Kami would have eventually told him. Because he was probably around, like, 10 or 11 by the time he left with Kami, making him probably old enough for Kami to be like, "Okay, my guy, you're not human, you're a Saiyan, and I took you up here because you're quite literally a god." So Goku would be like, "Okay, I'm a god," and he's basically just thinking, like, what the hell do I wish for? And this is where his Saiyan inherent, like, nature would end up basically jumping in. And you're like, what do you mean his Saiyan nature would jump in? Well, he wants to train, and he wants to get stronger, he wants to basically do that. So he wishes for a more effective way of training, and a bunch of weights basically, like, throw themselves down, and they just increase with weight, like, over time as he gets stronger. So he's like, oh, I was hoping for something a little bit better. I already pretty much have these. Whatever. He's a little bit sad by that, because he basically already had weights, because again, he trained with Kami. So there's no reason to assume he wouldn't be wearing, like, all the weighted clothing and everything like that. But he's like, I guess they're a little bit better than the ones I'm currently wearing. So he puts them all on, and he's like, oh, whatever. So he would end up going and training on his own instead of going with Master Roshi, and he would eventually hear of a tournament coming up. So he would enter that tournament, and once he does enter that tournament, he basically gets all the way to the finals. Since he never ended up training with Jackie Chun, or not, Master Roshi, Jackie Chun and Krillin would both enter because they would have trained together. Krillin might be a little bit weaker due to not having, like, sparring matches and fighting matches with Goku, but it wouldn't be by a significant amount. But either way, he would not make it to the finals. He'd either face Jackie Chun, being Master Roshi, or he would face Goku. Either one easily being able to or not easily, but being able to defeat him. Goku would easily be able to defeat him, but Master Roshi would have a little bit of difficulty doing so. So, in the end, it obviously would be Master Roshi versus Goku, and their battle would end basically just as quick as it started, with Goku one-shotting Master Roshi. He wins the tournament money, and he's like, damn, that was dope. So, in this, Goku obviously doesn't, like, have, like, Chi-Chi showing up, because it's not even that tournament just yet. So, he would begin training by himself for another 3 years. Another tournament would go up, Goku would easily win, and, things like that. So, obviously during that time, they would have completely dismantled the Red Ribbon Army, because, still. But I'm gonna say that why can't I remember his name right now? Dr. Gero still ends up living to be able to create the androids later on. So he gets his little plan to create the androids, and Goku continues on with his training before entering the next tournament, and easily winning that, defeating Tien and everybody that he would end up going up against. Literally nobody would be any challenge for him. He just kind of, like, flicks them, and they get sent flying, breaking multiple bones in their body. That's how strong Goku is at this point. He's probably, with all of his training, has a power level at around, if you considered, like, real-world things, he's probably at around 10 to 20,000. That's a pretty big freaking, like, area to be in. But, like, he's really freaking strong at this point. We'll just say he's at Vegeta's level. So, yeah. So, with that, Goku would basically continue on with his training because, doing that. And, oh crap, no, never mind, that's the wrong part. I thought the next tournament was the one where, good old Piccolo shows up, but no, it's this one. So Krillin would still end up dying. Goku doesn't get, like, enraged by this, but he'd still be like, oh, a fighter died. And he chases after Tambourine. So he obviously kills Tambourine, and he gets led, or basically after chasing Tambourine a little bit before killing him, he gets led to where King Piccolo is. King Piccolo would begin fighting with Goku, and he would be absolutely no match. But sensing the wanting for a fight inside of Goku, because, he hasn't really had a challenge yet, he basically is just like, I can get stronger if you give me the Dragon Balls, and Goku is just like, oh, okay, sure, I'll let you. So, because, he's kind of like Vegeta in this. He's never lost a fight, and he's really confident. So, what am I doing right now? Piccolo would end up wishing for his youth, but it would still be absolutely nowhere near enough to defeat Goku, of which would one-shot him. Piccolo would shoot out his egg, and, things like that. Kami would basically tell Goku, he was just like, yeah, good job, that's kind of why I trained you for so long. And Goku's like, yeah, I know, I don't get why you even had to train me. I could have done that from a toddler. And Kami's like, oh, yeah, don't get too cocky. There's going to be somebody eventually who's going to be stronger than you. And Goku's like, I don't know about that. I'm a god. He hasn't even entered his Super Saiyan God state, which is, who even knows of a multiplier? Like, I don't know, like, do I make up some multiplier? No, I'm not going to. So, Goku would basically just be like, whatever. He's never had, like, a rage moment, just, like, kind of like that in the original. So, Krillin and everybody like that would end up still joining up with each other, with Goku kind of doing his own thing, with, like, Bulma and everybody like that, kind of being his friends. But like the Z Fighters and Goku's little like group are like pretty much different beings, I guess, at this point. So with that, Goku would end up training the next 3 years before entering the next tournament and easily win that. Basically one-shotting Piccolo, giving him a Senzu Bean because he's just like, come on, dude, get stronger and give me a challenge later on. Like, come on. So basically, Goku would basically just go and he'd end up training for the next couple years. He never has a kid with Chi-Chi because Chi-Chi never got promised to marry him. Eventually, he would get, like, coupled, I guess, with somebody, and I'm gonna say that person would actually be Bulma this time, because remember how Bulma was like, oh, he's kind of hot in the original? Yeah, it's kind of a similar story to that, except Chi-Chi doesn't, like, basically take Goku from her, so she gets a little bit more time to make her advances, so she would do so. She ends up getting together with Goku, but they don't actually end up having a kid, at least not yet. So with that, they have a kid. Yeah. Wait, what? No, what am I trying to say? They do not quite yet have a kid, is what I don't know why I can't say that. And Raditz would end up showing up. He senses all of these power levels, and he would go to Master Roshi's little house. Goku would not be there, and he'd sense for a little bit longer, and he would basically just be flying around the planet looking for Goku, and eventually he would find him. The reason he couldn't find him with his scouter is because Goku doesn't have a sensible power level. So he'd basically show up next to Goku and he'd be like, you still have a power level of 0, Kakarot! You are such a lowly Saiyan! And Goku's like, what the hell are you talking about? Who's Kakarot? He wouldn't be... Oh my god. He doesn't know Kakarot, but he doesn't know Kakarot. Because, like, he knows he's a Saiyan, but he doesn't know Kakarot. So he's like... Raditz would explain his Saiyan nature, and Goku would be like, oh, I know I'm a Saiyan, so my real name is supposed to be Kakarot? Okay, that's kind of weird. Just call me Goku. Goku would then be like, so, are you planning on destroying anything here? And Raditz would be like, well, you didn't do it, so if you're not planning on coming with me, I'll destroy it after I kill you. And obviously Goku would be like, that's not gonna fly. And he one-shots Raditz to the ground. He doesn't kill him because, like, Kami trained him, like, not to kill people, like, redemption and everything like that. Raditz would basically do his good old thing where he's just like, well, 2 Saiyans much more powerful than me, as well as me, will come back later on and we will kill you. Goku's like, okay, yeah, sure, good luck, bye. And Raditz would end up leaving on a space shuttle. But that's where I'm going to leave this part off because I can. So I'll see you guys in the next part. Peace out, bye.